The only retro New Balance basketball shoe that deserves to touch the court this season is the ones that Matt Bonner used to play in. I don't know if you remember that, but
that was a Raptor.
But it was. I really remember this when he was on the Spurs because New Balance was not making basketball shoes anymore, and he was like, "This is my favorite shoe." I think he was still like technically signed to them. I remember the headline. I looked it up right now. There's a headline from Soul Collector from a few years ago. It's like Matt Bonner is down to his last 3 pairs of New Balances because like they weren't making basketball. So if we're gonna bring a retro back, bring back the Matt Bonner PEs, please.
What up, everyone? We don't get to do this very often. We've got some of the team members together in person. We're a fully remote company in SoleSavy, and with us being in New York, we said let's get in a podcast studio and talk about some of the biggest things happening. So we got everyone in the room today. Marco, Anna, how you guys doing?
Great.
Good morning.
Yeah, we're figuring out the process of being in person and not doing this over Zoom because we've been living on Zoom for 18 months and working together. But Marco, what's the first thing we're going to be talking about today?
Yeah, well, we're a couple of weeks away from NBA tip-off, which is always an exciting time for basketball fans, but also for sneaker fans, right? There's a lot of storylines going into the season, and we want to discuss what are the biggest ones, right? We're working on a similar story on the editorial side, and we figured since we're here, we all love basketball, we all love sneakers. But, let's talk about what we're expecting to see this season.
I mean, the first question I have is, what are people doing with Kobe's?
That's on everyone's mind. I thought that we saw the end of Kobe PEs in the playoffs, figuring, hey, productions were already, they already had done all the 6s, so they'll let the players finish it out. And then when the new season starts, Nike's going to have them in something fresh, right? Something new. Not because those players don't want to wear Kobe's anymore, but because they can't make money off them.
They can't sell them, yeah.
As far as we know, right? So why would they have all of their stars like Anthony Davis wearing brand new PEs that probably were left over, but still you would think as a brand you would want them to be in something that was going to be available in stores. So I'm starting to really question, is there some sort of upcoming partnership between the Kobe estate and multiple brands? Because we already heard about the Adidas stuff coming, right? So I don't know. What do y'all think?
I'm surprised. Like I figured media day they would wear some stuff. So I'm curious what's going to happen a couple weeks into the season. Are we going to be seeing people consistently playing in Kobe's and changing models? Are they going to be busting out stuff we haven't seen before? Because like part of what people are saying, like, oh, they had them before. They were just in the vault. They've decided to finally open it. But to your point, I can't imagine Nike's okay with essentially getting all the eyeballs on something they can't make any money off of, right? That's why they have players wear, the newest models, newest silhouettes. I really don't know. If there was a partnership or something building, I kind of would be surprised after how things fell through.
Literally the same. I don't even know how to imagine a court where these two coexist. Even worse is the thought of an independent brand under the foundation or the estate. Sorry, we heard a lot of whispers about that. People trying to, I guess, like clout chase off of Kobe's name after, and that's probably the worst thing I can imagine. Yeah.
Well, because when this all happened, we recorded a podcast, like just gut reaction to it, and my first reaction was, this is probably for the best to take a pause. So now that it's been 4 months, 5 months, I forget how long it's been, but did cooler heads prevail? Did they come to an agreement that they're just not talking about yet, and we're going to see in October or November or maybe February next year for All-Star that we do see the Kobe line back at Nike? Or did... Like, I just don't see a situation where Nike was like, yeah, you can also make the Adidas Retro and you can go do an independent brand. Like, I feel like they're going to want to own that.
Yeah, but here's the question. If they're not allowed to own that, do they let it go forever or for the near future? Or do they say, okay, well, we have to play nice with the estate now. We both care about the legacy of this particular foot line, Nike Kobe. We can't control Nike Adidas. We can't control the the Kobe startups that he was having those conversations with. But what if they say, hey, our players want to play in this. We have all these plans for the 6 Retro that we really only saw the surface of that scratched with the Grinch and then a couple other, and then we saw more 5s come back, right? So it sounds like there was a lot of plans that had to be paused. And does Nike, especially with all the logistical issues right now, if some of those were already in production, are they willing to say no? Because we can't have the exclusives? Or are they saying, hey, well, this is a very specific situation and we got to do what's right for the family, the legacy, and the fans?
Yeah, because what we do know is they're working 12, 18 months, 2 years in advance for a lot of product rollout. So is there a shipment somewhere at the Port of California with, more Kobe's that are coming over that they can't even release? There's so many business implications that It's gonna be interesting.
That's a scenario that I imagine, like Adidas and Nike both being able to coexist with Kobe lines. I guess like
Is there
out
anything,
in the.
is there anything comparable?
Well, yeah, we talked about it in the pod. You, myself, and Ian Stonebrook when the news initially broke, and I think my guess on what's going to happen is pretty similar to what our hypothesis was at that time, which was that it's going to be more of a licensing deal. Think about the way that other icons who have unfortunately passed before their time have their estates have licensed their name and likeness to other brands. Like think about the Tupacs and the Biggies and the Michael Jacksons of the world. You see them collaborating with a number of brands, some of which they had a history with and some of which they don't. Basquiat as well, right? So I think that Kobe is on the same level as, again, some of these artistic icons where I can see people saying, well, if we can't own the rights to all of his products, it's still important for us to continue the legacy that he built with us instead of just losing it forever.
But it feels so soon.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen now,
right?
But there seem to be some new colorways on Media Day. And again, those were probably made 18 months ago and just delivered. But I just find it hard to believe.
But why give it to them? They should have had them in Zions or Zoom Freak 3s or whatever the silhouette they're going to push, right? Like you have Adidas. A lot of players wear the Dames. Like that's the Adidas silhouette that a lot of players are wearing. Like what's that going to be for Nike this season?
Yeah, well, the other thing is I know on the Jordan side of things, they're pretty strict on what players can and can't wear. Obviously, everybody wants to wear retros, but they need to push the latest signature model.
Absolutely.
Or some of the lower tier signature models, right? So it's actually it has to be written in people's contracts. Hey, like you can wear retros all you want, but you have to play in these shoes. I would imagine being under the same company, sharing some of the same resources and thought leadership that Nike's going to want its athletes to do the same. The fact that Kobe's were everywhere on Media Day makes me think that there's no way there's that many players that went rogue. And I know the players can, to a certain extent, do whatever they want. Yeah. I saw, this is unrelated, but I saw Kyle Lowry wearing pirate black Yeezy boots from like 5 or 6 years ago. There's no way that was like approved by his Adidas rep, right? So I know players, what are you going to do right there on Media Day? You're going to run in there and stop the photo shoot.
They're still wearing brand.
But to see that many players, and rookies as well, right? That was the thing that really threw me off was rookies. Because it's one thing for a veteran player like Anthony Davis to say, hey, I play for the Lakers. This is my shoe. I'm a world champion. You're not going to tell me what to do. It's another thing for a rookie who just got signed, hasn't even earned his stripes in the league to be going rogue. So there's got to be something in the works there. And I don't know what it is, but I'm curious to find out. And obviously I hope that there's more on the way because the 6 is my favorite. And I only got one drop so far.
Let's play off that. Let's poke his experience here and see what his thoughts are. Because obviously, the 6s barely got rolling. We've had a pandemic slow down production, logistics. There's no doubt there's more prepared. Let's work in the premise that the Kobe Nike deal's back on and they're going to release product. What do you think happens from here?
Well, I think it's already been sort of announced and kind of co-signed by Vanessa Bryant that Kobe Adidas are coming back. So I do think we see a world where we see both of those in the same court, which we have, right, with the retros.
You think this holiday?
The unofficial Kobe's. I think we're probably coming to a point where around All-Star we see that stuff to start to come to life. And again, we have to remind people that Kobe retros have been on court in recent years, but they were not official Kobe retros, right? They were the Crazy 8. There were all these renamed shoes. Now it seems like they're going to have the official name with them. And then again, you get the Vanessa Bryant co-sign on Instagram multiple times via Candace Parker. I think we're going to see a day where there are 2 officially licensed Kobe sneakers from competing brands. There might even be a third, right? Because of there was the Reebok Answer stuff. There was, I think, Converse Weapons. That would be a long shot, but like you never know. Maybe they're saying, hey, if you're a Kobe fan, no matter what your favorite sneaker brand is, we're going to go back into that catalog and let you have them so you can honor his legacy and you can get the shoes that you want. But
I mean, I respect that. It's just going to be weird. It's going to be weird to get used to.
I don't know the Adidas catalog of Kobe.
No, I don't either. I remember one model growing up, and that's really it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember a few of them. That was my first Kobe shoe, and they were really cool back then. But I could tell you if I had to choose one or the other, I'm going with Nike. But
yeah, well, I think
of
most people
switching brands, something that broke last night and maybe even early this morning was Zach LaVine star for the Chicago Bulls, been endorsing Adidas for a while now. I believe he was on Nike to start his career, and then it was a big deal when he moved to Adidas. I got to confirm, but somebody told me that he was on our team. He was wearing Adidas on Media Day, which was a week ago or around a week ago. And then yesterday, another team photo pops up, and he's wearing KD's. So it sounds like we're around that time of the year where those contracts are expiring, and we're seeing people move around a little bit. But what are your thoughts on is that a big move for Nike to get Zach LaVine back again in Chicago, such a big sneaker capital? Is it a bigger move for them, or is it a bigger loss for Adidas? Because I don't think he was getting a signature anytime soon. I couldn't tell you what shoes he was playing in last year, but it's still news.
It kind of reminds me of Drake when he was pretending to leave Nike and he started wearing Adidas just to flex and show it on social. I think it's probably a little bit of a marketing negotiation tactic. I don't think Nike has got a massive roster of athletes. I think for Adidas, it would be a bigger win to bring him on and add to their pool. But I think Nike, if they've decided that Zach LaVine's not part of the talent pool for them, they got a bunch of guys to work with.
Quick correction though, and I want your thoughts on this as well. But Tony just reminded me that it was a Kyrie, not a KD, but still wearing the Nike on Media Day, and we know both of those silhouettes are really popular amongst NBA players.
Yep.
This is a period of limbo where athletes or people, like I think about Drake as well, just want to exercise some freedom. So like, I think the natural instinct once you end a contract with a brand is, I just need like something else for a bit. I've been wearing this brand for this long. I just want to like exercise my freedom for as long as I can, and then if I re-sign, then we're back. If I move on to another brand, like I'm already transitioning there. So
and maybe that was a decision by him that I just want to wear whatever I want. I want to wear Yeezys off the court. I want to wear Jordans off the court. I want to hoop in whatever I feel like hooping, and the check wasn't worth being restricted to one brand.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a max player here or around a max player. I don't know the exact salary implications, but I think you get to a certain point in your career too where you're like, hey, am I going to take an extra $1 million to sign with a brand that I maybe don't love as much, or am I going to have the freedom to wear I want, or just take like that regular, like what the equivalent of a veteran minimum deal is with Nike and say, hey, I'd rather just be able to like, rock Air Force Ones and Jordans. Which is what, I mean, it reminds me last year, like we knew Jimmy Butler was leaving Jordan, but then he went through that whole like sneaker free agency where like we probably assumed he was always going to end up cashing out with the Chinese brand like he did with Li-Ning. But he was kind of flirting with some other brands. He was posting Puma and he was back in Jordans in the freaking finals,
Yeah, I think freedom's a good thing around like creative freedom, especially. I think Jimmy left Jordan and went with Li-Ning. I'm sure the money was good, but it also allowed him to do what he wanted, because you can see with him, his big coffee brand, he's an entrepreneur. Yep. He wants to build things and to have a clean slate with another company that's going to allow him to do that. Like that's appealing to someone who has a creative vision versus like being a Jordan brand, which is awesome on paper, but you don't have a say in anything unless you're Zion.
This is a good segue to a topic we covered in the Unbox newsletter. Plug unbox.email to subscribe to that. You'll get yesterday's edition immediately. This will be coming out next week, but you'll get the most recent edition.
That was a really good plug. We should
I know exactly where this is going.
But I wrote an opinion piece about I'll give you the headline. The headline was how Adidas athletes found a hack to wear Nike designs. And this is something maybe I'm a sneaker nerd and I care too much. This is something I've been thinking about for a long time. It's like you got these major players. You have, and again, I'm not like trying to snitch on anybody. These are just like, they're real photos. You can see, some of them max players, some of them big time rookies. And they're on Instagram, they're in the tunnels, they're on League Fits wearing Nike designs. Maybe they're Bapestas, maybe they're Bape Dunks, maybe they're Bape Jordan 1s, or I forget the name of that new one. And then also bootleg Air Jordan 1s, right? I've seen Jalen Green, again, really excited about him. I think he's one of the best dudes in this draft, and I really like his game a lot. But he's one of Adidas' big signings for the season. And then I see him posting, and he's wearing bootleg Air Jordan 1s. There's no mistake that you are wearing an Air Jordan 1 design. And you're like, I just have to, like, how does Adidas feel about that? And the old hack used to be, hey, like, the James Harden, hey, I don't like really wearing Adidas off court. I'll wear Yeezys every now and then. Yeah. But I'll wear luxury shoes, right?
Yeah,
you can't tell me I'm wearing all these.
Yeah.
Now the hack seems to be wearing like Babes is in its own category. I consider that a luxury to a certain extent, and it's been around for so long. I'm not really gonna like.
You have a soft spot for
that.
the Babestas.
But
Yeah.
bootleg Air Jordan 1 seems like it's crossing the line. So how do you think that makes Adidas feel? And like, are you really in a position as a brand to get them to, hey, you have to wear this? The other thing is Adidas has never been hotter. There's a new Yeezy every week.
Mm-hmm.
The Form's having a moment. There's the Bad Bunnies. There's all these really like exciting shoes for the brand. It's not like they have no heat right now. So it's almost weird that you still opt for a fake Jordan 1.
I would have them in a anything else. Like I think they're getting away with it for now, but someone's got to be looking at it and going, yo, these guys are wearing. We all know it's an Air Force One. We know Nike's suing people who are making product that looks like an Air Force One or Air Jordan 1. They're coming after their IP. Adidas has at some point got to step in and be like, look, guys, you can't wear the knockoff of the brand that we're competing with in this industry. I wouldn't let them do it personally if I was Adidas. You're an athlete of mine.
If you're gonna do it, say it with your chest. Wear the Air Force Ones like Iverson did.
He
wasn't wearing the bootlegs. He said, "I'm gonna wear the Nikes because I love these." But yeah, what do you think, Anna? Do you think that it's weird to see Adidas athletes or even just non-Nike athletes wearing kind of like bootleg Nike designs?
So I think this context changes based on like the age group. So when I think of someone like Jalen Green, I don't necessarily see him as someone who's trying to find a loophole to wear Nike. I see him as this younger generation that has really embraced the bootleg, bootleg trend, and the type of kids that wear like tags on their shoes still. That's all I see from him. And Jalen Green is so forward with fashion in the league. I see him being a very influential fashion figure in the NBA now and in years to come. So I just see him making these choices strictly as fashion decisions. Like I'm not doing this so I can look like I'm wearing Nike or Jordan. I'm doing this because whatever, I don't know the bootleg brands he's been wearing, but like this is hot for my generation.
I mean, part of me respects that. The younger generation is saying, hey, you can't put me in a box. I'm going to wear what I think is fly. But I think as a brand person at heart, it just like makes me like, it hurts me to be like, imagine sending him this box of all these Forums and Yeezys, and then he pops up wearing bootleg Air Jordan 1s. I would just be like, dude, we just gave you like millions of dollars.
And that's what I come back to. Like Anna makes a great point, but I think as a signed athlete coming into the league and representing the brand, I think Adidas has the best product they've ever had, more than ever before right now. And there's got to be something you can wear. But again, that's kind of restricting the style. You're an athlete on the court.
Yeah.
Don't tell me how I got to dress and express myself off the court. So I get it, but
yeah. Well, to wrap this particular topic up and to really, I guess, to double down on Anna's point is I'm the only one that brought it up. This has been happening for months, if not years. So maybe I'm just looking into it too much, and the brand guy needs to shut
Marco
up.
needs his own Slack channel.
Well, exactly right. Like I feel like we're obviously like on the older side of this group, and so we're very like pure on our stances on like bootlegs, replicas, and I'm not there, but I'm starting to understand why kids are into these kinds of things. So like,
you're wearing bootleg Jordan 1s right now?
Yeah.
I'm wearing bootleg Air Force Ones.
I'm technically wearing.
They're half mids.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wearing the SoleSavy ones, which
Those
is
are
a bootleg.
Those
You're right.
bespoke.
You're my
That's
bad.
an official Air Jordan 1 material.
You gotta
please.
clear that up because I don't know how to fight that argument if someone asks me.
Well, we built ours
Yes, okay.
on an original Jordan 1 sole. We bought Jordan 1s, we stripped it down, handmade, small run,
Okay.
325 pairs. It's bespoke.
Okay.
From bespoke Air Jordan 1s to real ones, or not real ones, to Jordans made specifically for Jordan athletes, we have to talk about PEs. The Air Jordan line has been on such a roll since I would say the 34 when it comes to PEs. That like we even did that unboxed cover last year that was like the PE era, and we really talked about how Jordan brand ushered in this new era and brought new energy to their signature line, which, I mean, when I got to the brand in 2017, we launched 32 in Italy, and like nobody cared about that shoe. And it was an okay shoe. It wasn't the best performance shoe, but again, like there was a Gatorade collaboration. There was some really cool colorways, and it didn't really hit. The 33 had the fast fit, didn't really hit, and then the 34 came and it was just the perfect basketball shoe, and then the PEs. So with Jordan Brand's really strong roster right now.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you looking forward to the most when it comes to Air Jordan 36 PEs? Which the Air Jordan 36 is pretty solid. I played it in a few times. It's a great shoe.
I mean, I'm the only person who has all 3 of the Jordan 35 Ps maybe in the world. I really hunted those down last year. I agree with you. I think 34, 35. I haven't got my hands on the 36 yet. I think when Jordan Brand stepped away from trying, I think it was the 31 where like it's a Jordan 1 inspired futuristic Jordan for the 30th anniversary. Same thing with the 32. Like it wasn't pushing the shoes in the right direction. And now they're just thinking about, what's the next generation of sneakers look like and leveraging the young athletes. So for me, I mean, I'm really curious to see what happens with Luka and how does that play with the 36? Does he get a signature? They just gave Zion his signature, but I think Luka's due for something in his own lane as well.
I forgot to mention too, when we do our introductions, this is DP, CEO, co-founder, and also the biggest Air Jordan performance PE collector in the world.
Nerd.
The only guy I knows who just like hunts down like a Rui Hachimura 34 or something, which is a great shoe by the way, but it's just like not something I'm hunting down. And this dude loves Jordan performance PEs. And do you even play basketball or you just love them?
Man, come on.
I mean, as often as
this guy, look, do I play basketball?
As often as somebody who owns like 34 PEs should.
But it's the root of my love for sneakers is basketball, right? So when I see a PE that only released in Japan that's a beautiful sneaker, or only released in Paris that's numbered to 1,000, the sneaker collector basketball fan in me just goes, oh, that's the fucking coolest thing in the world. Because, we get trapped in the sneaker hype cycle of like what's limited and what are other people not going to be wearing when I go to an event. I know I can wear my Air Jordan 35 Paris. And no one's going to be in them.
I mean, and then you got an event at 7, and you might have a game of 21 at 7:30.
Exactly. I can hit the court running.
Yeah.
Like if Tony challenges me to one-on-one, if you challenge me to one-on-one, I'm ready to go.
Yeah. Well, we've seen some great PEs in the last few years, as mentioned, and now we have people on new teams. We have, this is not a 36, but it's Russ, and he was largely responsible for the PE wave on the Lakers. You have Melo on the Lakers. You have Kemba on the Knicks. When it comes to PEs, Anna, who are you looking out for this season to have some really hot stuff when it comes to Jordan PEs?
I'm looking at Kia Nurse. Obviously,
nice.
I'm trying to watch more WNBA, but Jordan Brand's really putting a lot of energy into their women's athletes. So their WNBA athletes rather, and so they put a lot of excitement and energy behind Kia Nurse. I saw her PE last week. It was the giraffe one. I thought those were real fun. And so that's what I'm excited about, mostly because of the excitement that comes with more attention in the women's space.
That's a really good point because even though the WNBA season is scheduled to end here soon, she still plays overseas as well. So I know the brand takes care of her when she plays in her other leagues as well. Same thing for some of the other WNBA players signed to Jordan Brand, Satu, and a few other people. So those type of stories and PEs will continue to come even when the WNBA season is over. And Kia's, she was one of the first new athletes they signed after Maya Moore was the only one for so long on the basketball side for women. So she's really kind of had some really sick PEs in the last few years. And real quick footnote, it's worth saying, I remember a couple of years ago for WNBA All-Star, it was her first All-Star appearance, and the brand wasn't really even making PEs for women at the time because they had just signed them a few months earlier. And I remember Russ let her not unds but debut one of his really cool PEs, which was a great gesture from him. But it was also you're playing an all-star game and you're playing somebody else's PE. It's good to see that the brand caught up to that, and now these women are getting their own PEs as well because they definitely deserve them and they're out there balling.
And that's more so why it's cool, right? Because when we talk about let's just say Jordan 36 or Jordan PEs right now, she's the only woman in the conversation with a great P. I don't even know if any of the other players have Ps. I don't think so. So she's alongside Luka, Rui, Zion. No, not Zion. Zion gets them too, right? And Jason Tatum. They have their own little Ps of at least the 35. So it's.
I forgot I bought the Tatums, the Zions, and I have the
nice.
The Tatums were nice.
Yeah, I have way too many performance Jordans for someone who hasn't played basketball in 18 months.
Well, I know as the brand has signed more young players like the Karis LeVerts of the world and players like that are not necessarily like the superstar level yet, but are on the rise.
Right.
And I think he's out with an injury right now, so I really hope for a speedy recovery from him. They're starting to do more PEs for more players. Before it was kind of like the pinnacle players on the brand would get them, and then you would get like 1 or 2 team colorways. Now when they sign a player, one of the first things they do, at least to my knowledge, is they start to match them up with these designers and create stuff. So we'll start to see more and more, which is smart, right? Like if PEs are hot, give them to everybody.
Yeah, well, and to Anna's point, like a good collaboration, that's what a PE is to me with an athlete, right? You get shoes with leopard print or Zion's younger brother drawing on them, or, you know, a samurai inspiration. Like it creates colorways that come from something that's not your typical, let's make a bread or let's make a team color. It pushes the boundaries of what the brands are making, because the athletes they're working with are like, no, I want the shoe to be like 100% glow and rips up nylon, because I have a story behind that. Yep. They're not doing that, but at least makes them think outside of the box. Again, like, you know, talking footwear designers at the brands, like, oh man, I've done enough bread. I can't do another bread colorway, right? You know, they like the excitement and making something new and interesting.
One thing that's cool about the Air Jordan 36 PE is they have this kind of, it's on a wiring, or maybe they're referring to a wiring. I have to go back and double check on the upper. That's really durable and really stretchy. And when we interviewed Tate, the designer of the Air Jordan 36, which you can catch on an earlier episode of this podcast, if you're curious about all things 36, he told me that, kind of hinted that wiring upper in between the outsole and then kind of like where it turns into material on the collar is capable of customizing from a graphic standpoint. So that's going to be really cool, because that seems like we haven't seen that really on a shoe before. Yeah. We've seen you can print on leather, you can stitch, but we've never seen a design, at least in my recent memory, where you can create a graphic or words inside basically like think about creating it inside the threads. So I'm excited to see what comes with that, because like just think if you're a player now and it's all like, I'm assuming like sort of a 3D printer, you're like, hey, I want this message on it, and you're not writing it with the marker anymore, it's like popped up in the shoe. That'll be fun.
That fabric is I remember this specifically. It was because a woman was like a really big component of that design process. So that upper is actually called lino weave, and so the woman that was involved, her name is Jacqueline. She like specialized in that in school. So she was like, it's a very specific type of like fabric that is able to be that like, I guess, innovative and durable and also light. I think it removed, I don't remember the percentage of weight it removed from the upper. It was like 33% or something like that. But that was really cool, because like that's one of the biggest innovations of that shoe.
I'm always for innovation. And I think that's what's been fun about the last couple years of Jordan silhouettes in the line is like they've been innovating. They've been trying new things, and I feel like they found the groove. And I mean, obviously I'm a little biased. I probably have like 10 pairs over the last couple of years. I know. Shout out to Jordan Brand. Please start seating me. Thank you.
Not afraid to fail either. I think the 33 was they swung for the fences on that one, and it came up short. But like it's that kind of like fearlessness that is really the soul of that brand, and not to be a commercial for them, but I think that's important too, right? If you play it safe, then you're really not going to push it forward. But when you're willing to like go the extra mile, you're going to fail a little bit, but you might end up with something special. And that's where we are right now with this like Eclipse Plate 34, 35, 36. Yeah. Really special. But moving on, so this is not just a love letter to Jordan Brand. There's some other interesting storylines this season. So Kawhi is out again, unfortunately. Even though I'm a Laker fan, I mean, he's an amazing basketball player. I love to watch him play, and he's a fun guy. So he's out. He has obviously this New Balance signature line.
I'm sorry. This guy.
I can't take you serious.
This guy. We're talking about Kawhi, and he still has to bring up the Lakers. Like we couldn't even just acknowledge the team that he plays for, and like he's not like.
I can't say something nice about the Clippers without at least the disclaimer.
Anyway, you couldn't even say the word Clippers. Did you just say it?
We could have said more. Yeah.
Did you say it? Say it.
Anyways,
say Los Angeles Clippers.
I don't want to ruin any potential relationships here. We actually, the Clippers, that's a great organization. Honestly, I'm really excited about their new arena. Make more room for our banners. So, what I'm saying is, Kawhi is unfortunately injured. He's the face of New Balance hoops. They have a couple of young players, but if you're New Balance right now, I want to ask you this. And Kawhi's out. He's been out a couple seasons, and I know there was some energy around his shoe initially. There were some cool collabs, the Jolly Ranchers. I seen Tony playing a couple of them. what do you do? Do you focus on some of these young guys that they have, or do you go out and try to find one of these free agents who's out here flirting with other brands like Zach LaVine or something like that?
Well, realistically, they have to push forward, right? I'm sure the roadmap was set for this season in product and colorways and whatever they were going to launch. They got to find a new brand ambassador or still leverage Kawhi in that sense and the team. And, he's still a star. He might not be playing in them. Maybe there's another Clipper that can play in them. But you can't just abandon the roadmap for a year because, you'll lose that momentum. And he had a lot of that momentum with the Raptors, which changed a little bit when he lost the whole country, Canada's support a little bit from moving to LA. But you have to keep the momentum going with the brand. And New Balance is hot right now. Off the court lifestyle, you gotta push forward in the footwear space on the court.
Yeah, I almost question, and again, I don't have insight on how the New Balance basketball line performed, sales wise. I almost question is Kawhi selling these shoes? Because is it making an impact? Because he's not someone that I necessarily look to be I want to wear that guy's shoe, or and maybe I'm not. I'm also not it doesn't matter.
But we're also not in LA at the same time, right? It might be more of a regional push.
Yeah, I mean it's okay. He left the Raptors. You can let that hurt go now.
I can't. Absolutely cannot.
Tell us how you really feel, Anna.
But I will say when he hit that, I think it was a game 6 again. Oh, it was against the Bucks. I literally was on the street and I bought a pair of New Balance.
Wow.
It's my first New Balances ever.
On the street?
Yeah, literally. I was outside.
They had a pop-up?
No, I just went to essence.com.
Oh, wow. No,
Shout out to New Balance.
I think that this is not for a topic for this conversation per se, because New Balance is really hot off the court right now. But I think if you invest in the game of basketball, which they made a big announcement about a few years ago, they obviously signed Kawhi from Jordan Brand, right? That's a huge splash. He wins a championship. He goes to the City of Angels. There's all this momentum, and then there's off the court. You're talking about ALD. You're talking about all of these Joe Freshgoods, Bricks and Woods. All this momentum, particularly a lot of it, some of it West Coast based too. With Bricks and Wood, and you have Chicago and you have New York. You have this momentum really from coast to coast. And then you already invested in basketball. I almost feel like you have to, right? You
have to,
because they're not there yet from a basketball standpoint, but there's never been a better opportunity to be there, right? When you talk about the momentum, what's hot off the court. So yeah, I'd be curious to see if they're willing to pay somebody to sort of carry the torch while Kawhi's out, and then be another face for them.
I wonder if there's an opportunity to get people in retro New Balance basketball, since ALD's making it hot. So that could be how the way we kind of young players try to, or players in general, to try and experiment with retro Jordans. We have DeMar who wears tons of retro Jordans, and other players. It'd be interesting to see that segue. That could be a little transitional moment for younger athletes.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think about myself playing in 550s, and I don't know if I can do it.
I don't know. People playing some crazy things.
Yeah. Well, maybe the high top, but definitely not.
The 550 highs.
It's coming. It's coming. Shout out to ALD for another pre-order.
The only retro New Balance basketball shoe that deserves to touch the court this season is the ones that Matt Bonner used to play in. I don't know if you remember that, but
that was a Raptor.
But it was. I really remember this when he was on the Spurs, because New Balance was not making basketball shoes anymore, and he's like, "This is my favorite shoe." I think he was still technically signed to them, and he was really just playing with a finite resource of New Balances. They were old too, so one would go out, and he's like, I remember the headline. I looked it up right now. There's a headline from Soul Collector from a few years ago. It's Matt Bonner is down to his last 3 pairs of New Balances because they weren't making basketball. So if we're gonna bring a retro back, bring back the Matt Bonner PEs, please, because I don't know if again the 550 is having a bigger moment than any shoe that I can think of in recent history, especially to come out of nowhere like that. But I don't know if people are going to play basketball in that. This Matt Bonner shoe, I mean, it looks like
I can see a cool style guy trying it.
For all we know, New Balance is they're ahead of us.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about some other storylines. You mentioned the Luka signature. We have to imagine that's on the horizon. But there's also a few other people, right? There's Luka, there's Jimmy Butler. It's been about a year now since the Lanine announcement.
Yep.
I mean, this time last year, I think he was playing. Was the finals last October?
He was playing in the playoffs in some PEs. In
some 31 PE lows, I remember that. So you got to imagine that they've been at work trying to figure out his situation. I don't think Luka will get one this season. But I could be wrong.
Why not?
I just think
is Luka.
I don't think
Can he sell shoes?
I'm not saying. Oh, I think Luka is going to be
I think he could.
a massive top seller when it comes to like international sales, which is there's Jordan Brand has had a strong emphasis on expanding into Europe for years. I mean, look at the PSG partnership, which is doing really well for them. But like people in Europe didn't necessarily have an affinity for Jordan Brand like the way that we do in North America. They know who Michael Jordan is, right? But they've been trying to do that, and Luka is the perfect bridge to that part of the world. So I think one's coming in 2022, but the way the season is split up, I don't know if it'll be this season. But I want to talk about Zion's signature shoe. I would imagine his second one is going to be debuted sometime around the playoffs. And hopefully he's playing and he's healthy, and the Pelicans are finally reaching the playoffs with him. What do you think the expectations are for the Zion, the Z Code 2 after the first one, which I thought was solid? I thought it was a good like safe choice, but it doesn't feel like for as big as Zion is as a player and as I wouldn't say a personality, but as a presence that he I think fans expected a little bit more and it was a great shoe. It performed well. I didn't think it was bad, but what are your expectations for the second one?
Well, I feel like they're always going to play it safe with the first model, right? The first design, the colorways. You just want something to warm people up. But you don't if you hit the ground running with something like super out of left field, it's hard to get situated with it. So I'm expecting more of a unique design this time around, something that feels true to him, that can push the brand forward in signature sneakers for Zion. I don't know what that'll look like, but I thought the first version was playing it safe. So I want to see them push the envelope. Well,
we saw that happen with Russ too, right? His first version was cool, but it wasn't as cool as the second one or the third one. Right. What about you, Anna? What are your expectations for the second Zion?
I picture Zion to be a safe personality. So when I saw that shoe, I was like, yeah, makes sense.
But I think explosive, right? So like I want to see some energy in the sneaker.
Like, do you want to see like the Eclipse? What is that called? That little
the plate.
The Eclipse plate. Yeah. No, but is that the visible? Anyway, are you expecting to see things like that? Like,
yeah, it just looked like a.
Because also the price point of this shoe is on the lower side, right? So like when I saw that, I was like, okay, this is probably appealing to like his younger fans, this next generation, and
we don't know the business goals of the signature, right? Is it? I think it was 110 US.
Around that. Yeah, it was in that tier for sure.
Yeah, 110, 120. It's designed to be affordable right now. Maybe the driving force behind this is let's make an affordable Jordan sneaker that's comparable in market to the Kyries, so kids can wear them. High schoolers can wear them. It's more accessible, right? Because families can't afford $190 sneakers. And maybe that's the discussion that happened with Zion and Jordan. Like, let's make an everybody sneaker. And, when you're making a shoe for $120 retail, $110 retail, you're restricted to what you can do, and
Well, he's also been billed as Gen Z's first superstar. He's Jordan Brand when he was announced. His shoe, it was the first Gen Z signature shoe. So there's a lot of firsts here. And when you're talking about Gen Z, you're talking about the younger generation, the kids that are still in school. So the price point is super important for them. I don't think you can fit. I don't think you can fit an Eclipse plate into a $120 shoe. That doesn't mean the shoe can't be great though, right? We've seen a lot of success in that price range from Kyrie to some of the KDs back then. So I'm excited. It'll be a fun one. The next one I want to move on to is one I'm really excited about actually, because I'm just a big LaMelo Ball fan. Like, massive. I think that he is like, I haven't seen someone like live up to the hype like that since LeBron. When you really think about it, he had all these haters against him. He had all these people say he couldn't do that. He obviously had LeVar who was hyping him up since he was like 12 or 13 years old, and then he comes into the league and he wins the Rookie of the Year. Like, and he's playing for Michael Jordan, right? Like, it's so cool, and I really like his style. So I know they unveiled it with Puma, but I think that like that unveiling is just we're just scratching the surface of what they're going to do with him. So what do you think? How do you think that's going to turn out for Puma? Do you think this is their big break finally?
Yeah, it has to be. Like, again, maybe it's not this first signature, the first silhouette. Maybe it's the second one. But like, you got to use this opportunity. You have your Zion on your side, and you got to use that fame, that style, that signature play, and create a sneaker that's going to inspire people to want to wear a Puma silhouette. And I think they've done a great job. I'm forgetting the name of the Dreamer that
Oh yeah,
The RS Dreamer.
the RS Dreamer. Yeah,
J. Cole led the way
Puma
for that
has
one,
been
yeah.
putting out great colorways and great shoes, but it hasn't really taken off, and they're signing more people. And I think you got to leverage LaMelo and his future stardom to kickstart, that next decade of footwear for Puma.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think now is a good opportunity for Puma to blow up, because I think if we had gone a little too, there's always the risk of being a little too early, a little too ahead of your time, where you drop a good signature shoe with like a great player, but there's no momentum for the brand yet. So Puma's gaining that momentum, and LaMelo is like, there's no way to hate that guy. He's a great player. His personality is great. Like, he's endearing as well in all his media. So I think this is a great opportunity for Puma for sure.
I've always obviously was a Lonzo fan when we drafted him, and then I was starting to root for LaMelo when I saw like so many people just wanted him to fail, and I'm like, this dude's a kid. And then I honestly in summer league I started rooting for Jello too, because I'm like, why do you hate this guy? Like, yeah, he made that mistake at UCLA or whatever, but like, he's like, wait, that's unforgivable. There's people in the league that have done way worse, or there's just people that we know that have done way worse, right? Like, give this kid a break. So I went from like being a little skeptical and like, all right, to like, I want all of them to succeed now, and I think it's really cool to see the youngest one, LaMelo, really like being that guy, because and he for as good as he is and as loud as they've been in their promotion, he still seems like a pretty humble dude, and he backs all of that talking that other people did for him up, which is pretty special, because he didn't do that talking, people did it for him.
Yeah, I forgot for a minute there about Big Baller Brand. Like, that was the moment.
He was definitely detrimental to their personal brands, but
yeah,
no, LaMelo, like, even that I don't know if you guys saw that clip of LaMelo finding out he was the Rookie of the Year, where he's looking through all his locker room, and the players set it up, and he was like, it said Rookie of the Year, and he's just like, cool. Wait.
I'm rooting for him for sure. All right, so I'm gonna put you two on the spot right now. You can't say Luka, because we know that's coming, right? That's a given. Who do you think deserves a signature shoe next? I'll throw some names out there just so you don't, I don't want to put you on the spot. We've got John Morant, we got Jason Tatum,
Devin Booker.
Yeah, Devin Booker, who obviously is coming off a major leap in his career, and you also have a lot of people that are sunsetting into their signature shoes. Right, we're not seeing any Melos anymore. I think we were coming to the end, or we might have already seen the end of the CP3 line. So there's room for new people. It doesn't have to be those names I mentioned, but DP, why don't you go first? Who do you think deserves it next? Not counting Luka.
I'm trying to think what trailblazer I can plug here for a signature sneaker that's going to make sense, but it's not going to work at all, no matter how hard I try.
Well, I mean, Dame
has his CJ,
and so does CJ. Yeah.
CJ just got his with Li-Ning.
Yeah,
looks like a great sneaker. That's tough. I guess I'm where I'm struggling with is like what brand, because I think like, every brand has a different level of like what qualifies to create a signature, because they have different goals. I think Tatum is a no-brainer out of Boston for Jordan Brand, but I'm trying to think like who could be on the Puma roster next, or who could Puma sign that a brand wouldn't think is a typical star, but they could give them a signature to help elevate them to the next level. So that's a long-winded way of saying I don't have an answer for you outside of Tatum.
Yeah, what about you?
I think Tatum is definitely a possibility, or my personal favorite, which I've been saying this for a while now, is Devin Booker, because he's so influential in his style, and now that we've got this like Kobe debacle, what is he gonna wear?
Yeah.
I think there's an opportunity, a really exciting opportunity for us to see him in a signature shoe.
It makes sense.
Yeah,
especially after the run the Suns.
The run he's been on, the Sun. Everyone's looking at the Suns. Everyone's looking at Devin Booker. He's a couple years into the league. He's really proven himself.
Well, I'll wrap this episode with my answer, and I'll say that there's only one answer here, and it's the Caruso. He's playing in Chicago now. Torch is being passed. First it was MJ to Pippen for a little while, then D Rose, and now Alex Caruso is in Chicago.
Can we edit this out?
He's signed to I can't forget what brand he signed to, a Chinese brand. And he's a Caruso, man. He's coming off he's a world champion.
He's not even a Laker anymore.
Yeah, but man, he's a legend. No, I think John Moran makes a lot of sense. He's fun. He's young. He's
Ja
a high
does make
flyer.
sense.
Big dunkers. Like, you just associate signature shoes with the big dunkers. I just like, who does Nike stop making signature shoes for if he does it? Because it's no secret that signature shoes aren't necessarily the money makers that they used to be.
Yeah.
So you can't just do it for sentimental value anymore. It has to actually move the needle. But I think John Morant is one of those neutral players where, like, I don't know anybody who dislikes him.
No.
So if you make his shoe instead of like the hype or whatever, I still think that shoe does well commercially outside of Memphis, right? So I think that would be a fun one. But
I think to big city stars or people who could be stars in big cities, right? So I'm trying to rack my head of like, is there a Nick right now that is up and coming that should get a signature in the next couple of years? But again, that's what brand are they signed to? It's a different level.
I think the more likely scenario, and I hate to break your heart right now, is that the Knicks get a signature player via trade, and his name is Damian Lillard.
Oh, God. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into this episode of the podcast.
No, this was a great conversation. I'm excited about the NBA, and it was really good to hear your insights. I think hopefully some of our predictions come true. I'm sure a lot of them will be incorrect, but it'll be fun to see it all play out and see some of these shoes make some headlines on the court. So thank you all for listening. Anna, DP, Tony behind the scenes. Appreciate you all, and looking forward to tip-off.